Previously on Racing Namibia.
I got out early this morning to explore some rock art, and now it's time for me to check out a nearby sand dune so that I can test out my gaiters and do a little bit of heat training because it's 36 degrees Celsius this afternoon.
I've had several days to explore the country as I make my way to the coast.
So I just arrived here at the Cape Cross Seal Colony.
I'm here for the Namib Desert Race, part of the Racing the Planet 4 Desert Series. I'll now be joining my fellow racers at camp as we prepare to run 250 kilometers over 7 days, while carrying all of our own food and supplies for the week on our backs. So I've arrived here in Swakopmund, which is a quite picturesque little resort town on the coast of Namibia. And it's also right on the edge of some massive sand dunes that I can see from my balcony here. And this is where the race is being staged from. In fact, we're going to be meeting tomorrow just outside of the hotel here. I've seen quite a few runners arriving today, although I suspect there'll be even more arriving from Windhoek tomorrow to transfer directly onto camp. So I've just finished repackaging all of my dehydrated meals into individual freezer lock bags. And it wasn't so much because of the weight of the bags, but just because of the bulkiness. There's no way this would have all fit in my pack in their original packaging. And so I've labeled each one with how many calories are in it, as well as the cooking instructions. And I'm actually going to just rehydrate them right in the bag. They never rehydrate quite as well as in their original packaging, but I don't mind them being a little bit crunchy because there's no way it all would have fit otherwise. And essentially each day starts with instant oatmeal and instant coffee, and then I have run food for during the race itself, followed by a recovery shake for immediately after the run. And then in most cases I have a medium-sized lunch, somewhere around 600 calories, as well as then a larger dinner, and then in most cases a little snack as well. Day 5 is a little bit different because that's the long stage, so I won't need a lunch, but I do need extra run food. And then day 6 is actually a continuation of stage 5. We're given 2 days to complete the long stage, but if all goes as planned, I'll have finished the night before. So on day 6, I have a lunch and a dinner and some of these chewy banana bites as a snack, but no run food. And lastly, on day 7, well, that's the short stage. It's only 10 kilometers, so I do have breakfast and coffee, but nothing to eat on the run, just some electrolytes. And I've got a little baggie with some spare electrolytes and some Tums in case I get an upset stomach. And I've got this all broken down on the spreadsheet here, and it all adds up to about 16,300 calories, which is well above the minimum of 14,000 calories that we're required to bring, or roughly 2,000 per day. But I'm still going to be in a huge caloric deficit because at my weight, my base metabolic rate is probably around 2,500 calories. And I'm likely to be burning between 40 to 50,000 calories during the week with all of this running. But there's just no way to bring that many calories while still being able to maintain a decent pace because as it is, this all weighs 4.1 kilograms or roughly 9 pounds. The last stage race I ran, I was at about 15,000 calories and I was so hungry, all I could think about was food all week. And the mistake I made at that race was relying on more calories from run food, from sugary snacks, which they weigh quite a bit because they do have some liquid in them. And what would happen is I'd finish running by maybe 1 o'clock and then I'd have hours to kill before dinner. And I would just sit and obsess and think about food. So this time around, I'm trying something a little bit different. I'm bringing these extra meals for lunch to help tie me over before dinner, in place of some of that additional run food. And this is a change that I made pretty last minute after talking to my buddy Ray Zahab, who's an incredibly accomplished Canadian ultramarathoner. He's run all of these stage races. He's run across most of the world's deserts in his own expeditions, as well as the Arctic. And what he found is that the longer you go, the more you have to rely on your body's fat stores instead of these faster burning calories, because they're just too heavy and it doesn't scale. And instead, you just need to go into that caloric deficit and eat sugary foods just to give you a boost when you need it. And instead, focus on eating for recovery once you're done running, when your body is more prime and able to digest starchy foods. Because what you do and eat after the run is what will ultimately set you up for success the following day. So I pulled out some of my run food. I'm now down to about 130 calories per hour in favor of a few extra lunches. And I was actually able to get an extra 1,000 calories into my meal plan without any extra weight. So I'm gonna pack all the stuff up now. Everything goes in a separate bag for each day so that I don't mix anything up. And then it's time to head downstairs for my pre-race COVID test. We'll be required to carry all of our own gear for running and sleeping throughout the entire week, including a sleeping bag and pad, warm and waterproof clothing, and a fairly long list of required safety equipment. The only thing that will be provided at camp is a tent, along with hot water to rehydrate our meals, and cold water along the course. £18 without water. Then it was time for my pre-race COVID test before joining the other runners to make our way to Camp 1. Hey! So we drove about a half hour on the highway, then hopped in some 4x4 vehicles, and we've arrived here at camp. And this is actually a new camp location. The wind's starting to die down now a little bit, but it's expected to pick up again for the first couple of days of the course. It's pretty dangerous to be out in the middle of a sand dune during a massive windstorm, and they're expecting gale force winds. So instead of starting on the water, we're starting a little bit more inland. So we've got the rest of the evening to relax, and then we have all day tomorrow just to hang out. So we're effectively quarantining here at camp before starting the race on Sunday. So it's a great chance just to get to know each other and sort of settle in and relax before starting the race. Well, it's Saturday morning. A bunch more runners arrived late last night, and I think there's just a couple more arriving today. But this is pretty much it for the field now.
And today we basically have the day to relax and hang out and get organized before starting the race tomorrow. We'll have our pre-race briefing here soon, and then they're going to do our gear check to make sure we have all the mandatory equipment and the minimum number of calories.
Welcome to the Namib Race 2021. Honestly, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to be here and be back in the desert. It's been more than 18 months since we last had a race, and we're going to be a small group here, but we're going to be a special group of people who really want to get out there. We're also excited to be back in Namibia. I hope some of you had a chance to explore it a little bit, but it is a very beautiful country, and you're going to see it up close and personal over the next 7 days. The biggest concern on this course is going to be the heat and the exposure.
How much does it weigh? 8.5.
Actually, I was targeting 7-ish, but the girls got to eat.
That's right.
And we're just going to take off your pack and start it out, and I'll go through the equipment check. So in most cases, I'll just be verifying that you actually have the item, and only in a few cases I would be verifying that you have a specific one.
On the back is Sam's phone number and then sat phone. You're ready. Welcome.
Meu nome é Vladimir dos Santos, sou brasileiro e moro no Brasil, no estado do Rio Grande do Sul, sul do Brasil. Eu uso o esporte na minha vida desde que perdi a visão aos 34 anos, hoje eu tenho 51, mas não para ser melhor do que ninguém. Eu quero apenas mostrar às pessoas que uma pessoa cega ela é igual a qualquer outra e que nada é impossível da gente fazer. Quando eu corro os 4 desertos, quando eu estou junto com todos os competidores dos 4 desertos, a organização, eu sinto como uma família, sabe? Então eu procuro motivar as pessoas, motivar os competidores na prova, sorrindo, mostrando que não há dificuldade que a gente possa superar. Sempre com um sorriso, com determinação, com motivação, as pessoas acabam olhando uma pessoa cega como uma pessoa normal. O que a gente é? A gente é uma pessoa normal, a gente não é diferente de ninguém. Correr aqui para mim é uma sensação inexplicável. Eu sinto cada coisa que o deserto me oferece, a vegetação, o vento, o cheiro diferente, o solo, as areias, os canyons. Isso faz com que a gente não use os olhos, mas use os outros sentidos, né? Eu sinto o cheiro das coisas, eu sinto as coisas ao meu redor, eu toco bastante com minhas mãos. Quero levar essa mensagem de que a gente é capaz, que nada é impossível para as pessoas. Então, assim, o meu sonho realmente é percorrer, continuar correndo, levando a mensagem de que uma pessoa cega como eu não é uma pessoa incapaz, pelo contrário, é uma pessoa que é capaz de muitas coisas, porque quando eu decido fazer alguma coisa, eu faço, né? Para mim, eu sempre estou pensando, todo dia eu penso assim, eu posso. E sempre quando eu digo isso, eu posso, eu sempre chego ao final, sabe? Para mim o objetivo maior na corrida, meu sonho é percorrer o mundo inteiro, levando essa mensagem de que uma pessoa, apesar de cega, ela é capaz de muitas coisas. E que as pessoas não olhem para mim e digam assim, coitado, e sim olhem para mim com orgulho e dizem, é o Vladimir, o grande corredor, a pessoa, né, que leva a motivação para todos nós. É esse o meu sonho, percorrer o mundo levando essa motivação.
Plus I have some more extra.
My name is Atul Patki. I'm originally from India, but now I'm American. I live in Virginia, USA. 2014, I decided to do something different. After my North Pole Marathon, I came to know that there is another challenge there, which is bigger than North Pole Marathon. So I started thinking about it, and then I came to 250 kilometers running races. My third desert was there. It was Atacama, which is a driest desert, high level altitude, 14,000, less oxygen, very difficult desert. And I had a lot of pain in my legs. I had blisters everywhere. And at night time, I came out of my tent, and then I saw one person was coming from restroom, and he was going so slowly. And he had no lights onto his head. Oh, it was Vladimir. And I said, Vladimir. Immediately he called me saying that, oh, my friend from Washington, D.C. He said that, friend, can you do one favor to me? I said, what? I heard that the moon looks beautiful tonight. Can you just see to that moon and describe me tomorrow how the whole environment is? He counted his steps one at a time. At one particular moment, he just turned. Another few steps, another moment he turned and then went into his tent. This guy is so amazing. A high area was there. I went over there, sat. I looked at the moon and I said that, okay, let me feel this area. And it was beautiful. My heart was full of joy that moment. And at 6 o'clock, I got up with full of energy. The long march was so excellent. People were in pain, but I was not in pain. Next day, I told Vladimir that, Vladimir, I know you have somebody to help you. But the day when you don't have anybody, or if you need my help, and this is the moment I got, and I grabbed that moment for him.
We will cross the main road that goes from Windhoek to Swakopmund, and we will get into a different area completely.
So we were just briefed on the change of course for stage 1, because apparently as bad as the winds are here, they're way worse in the sand dunes where we were supposed to start. It does mean that we're going to miss out on some of the really big sand dunes at the start of the course here, but we should be able to get to see some more in a couple of days when the winds are expected to die down.
The original route would have started closer to the coast, in the sand dunes south of Walvis Bay. We would have then headed north and then east along riverbeds in a loop back to Swakopmund. The new course will start further north in the Swakop riverbed and will head further east into an area called the Moon Valley, before circling back across open desert towards Swakopmund, where we'd get a chance to run in some of the large sand dunes that we missed at the start of the course. In addition to Camp 1, there would be 5 more campsites along the course, where the clock will stop each day once we arrive, and start again the following morning on the next stage of the race.
A little bit windy, eh, boys? What are you talking about?
That's some gritty, sandy coffee.
On the next episode of Racing Namibia.
Okay, so it's Sunday morning. We've got about a half an hour before our pre-race briefing, and then we're getting started at 8 o'clock.